Film ended just as I bit into a sandwich. Sorry. Let me finish chewing offline. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And today is Veterans Day. And Veterans Day is bittersweet. I'm not a fan of war. I'm not a fan of military. But my take is hate the game, not the players. And I think that there was a social contract with the people who participated in these battles, who served in the military, and that we as a country owe the folks that served. We owe them for the sacrifice that they gave. They gave their youth. They gave sometimes their health, their sanity, their mental, all that stuff. So honor them. And I am suspect of anybody, any politician who does not realize that. It's not about parades. It's about giving veterans access to jobs, to housing, and to health care. That's what it is. Both my father and my stepfather both served during Vietnam. My father was on the Forrestal, and during when the explosion happened, and has PTSD from that. My stepfather was in the Marines and also was exposed to a lot of conflict and has PTSD from that. Both of them did this as young adults because they were on the verge of being drafted or drafted. Anyhow, we got films for you about all these things. First, we're going to show a film that I've shown before called Military Life in You, and this is interesting because it's made by Coronet Films, and it was shown to young people, specifically young men, who were on the verge of being drafted. It came out in the early 50s, and so it was like, hey, let's come up with a way to get young people prepared. They're graduating from high school, and if they're not going to college, they might get drafted. So here's a whole series of films about what to expect. So here's Military Life in You. Enjoy.
Here's a familiar sight in any military installation in the world. If you're a young man thinking about what military life is like, you're probably thinking you'll be doing a lot of drilling. And you will, especially in your early weeks of training. No matter what branch of service you might get into, no matter what other specialized training you receive, you'll spend a lot of time learning how to drill and drilling. Even the ladies do it, and do it well. You may have wondered why the armed forces put so much emphasis on drilling. This isn't the way a modern army goes into battle, so what are they training for? Now, it does look good in a parade. But then, this isn't what men are being trained for, to look good in a parade. Of course, they do look good. Somehow you know that whatever situation they're faced with, they'll give a good account of themselves. They'll meet the job and do the job as good soldiers. And these men are learning to be good soldiers. For one of the main characteristics of military life is discipline. With all the other skills a soldier learns, discipline, which began on the drill field, pays off here. In the same way, discipline learned on the parade ground pays off here, when men of many skills must click as a team. Discipline learned in camp pays off here. Discipline learned on the ground pays off here. And discipline pays off here, when you're on your own, and your imagination plays tricks on you. Or is it your imagination? And you wish you were safe in the rear somewhere, and you feel like running away. But you don't run away. You've got your orders, and you stay at your post to protect yourself and your buddies. Now it's a long way from that sentry post somewhere over there to this room somewhere in the USA. But over here, we'll find a boy who may someday be over there. This is Kurt Johnson. Like most boys, Kurt takes a dim view of discipline. He calls himself a rugged individualist. But what does that mean? Suppose we do a little thinking about Kurt and about you. Is this so-called rugged individualism, or is it self-discipline? Maybe you don't want to get up, but you have to be at school on time. So you get yourself up and get yourself ready. Maybe you're in the habit of making your bed and straightening your room. Maybe you've taken on other responsibilities around the house. Think about them. Aren't they disciplines you've accepted to make it easier for your family to live together? Oatmeal. Maybe one time you didn't like it, but if you learned to like it, you practiced self-discipline that made meals go better. Yes, chances are you're under more discipline than you realize. Of course, that rugged individualism may still show through.
Kurt, why hasn't this been fixed yet?
Gee, Dad, I was going to, but there have been so many things going on.
Kurt, we had an agreement about this. Will you come straight home from school this afternoon and fix it?
Gee, Dad, not this afternoon. Some of the fellows were going
Kurt.
down.
Either it's fixed by dinner time tonight, or the car stays in the garage tonight.
Oh, Dad.
Well, what do you do in a case like that? If you snap out of it, take it in your stride, and do the job, that shows you've developed the self-discipline that characterizes a man. If you keep on sulking, feel sorry for yourself, then you've got some growing up to do before you enter service. In service, you get up. There's no time to fool around with a so-called rugged individualist who's feeling kind of sleepy. There are a lot of men here with a lot of things to do. Your first responsibility is to take care of yourself and your things and do it right. Good old Mom won't be there to pick up after you. If you're finicky about your food, get over it. With a lot of mouths to feed, the cooks don't make it fancy. Just good, solid food. One thing more about military life. You'll take orders. However you reacted that time when Dad ordered you to do that repair job, in service, you'll take orders and carry them out. No matter what your assignment is in service, you'll take orders every day. Some orders you'll understand, and some orders you won't understand, but you'll still follow orders. You'll do what you're told, when you're told, how you're told. And it won't do you any good to protest or complain or feel sorry for yourself. Some of the orders you'll follow are in the form of rules and regulations. Maybe, like Kurt, you've been wondering how you'll get along trying to follow so many rules and regulations. Well, let's think about that. Will it really be such a new experience? Haven't you been following rules and regulations all your life? And you might as well admit it. You know they're necessary. What kind of mess would this corner be if people didn't follow the rules? You see, as long as just one person is involved in something, he can do pretty much as he pleases. But whenever people get together to do something, we need rules. And you know what we call a man who doesn't follow the rules. He's a poor sport. And the soldier who doesn't follow the rules is a poor soldier. Because he shows no respect for uniform regulations, you know immediately that this man is a poor soldier, don't you? This man wears his uniform with pride. Take your pick. Which kind of serviceman do you want to be? Military courtesy. That's another part of the same deal. Standing up, saluting, saying sir, these are the ways a military man shows his respect for his superiors. Think of it much as saying good morning to a neighbor, or your teacher, or your boss. For of course military courtesy is based upon common, everyday civilian courtesy. In fact, military life on the whole is not basically so different from civilian life. We learn discipline from the time we're small kids. We stick to rules and regulations whenever people have to do things together. The rules aren't hard to learn. We learn them quick when we need them. Rules for baseball or for soldiering. The important thing to remember about military life is that it's a life for men. The best way to get ready for that life is to grow up. Here's what we mean. Maybe you'll be ordered out of the game. You won't like it, but you know it would be childish to get sore or quit, so you follow orders. Discipline. Self-discipline is the difference between a child and a man. And discipline is the difference between a mob and an army. Discipline, which means your readiness to conform to the requirements of your leaders and your service. Think it over. If you're going into service, you'll want to do a good job. Military life is strict, but it's made up of the same elements that enable people to work together in civilian life. Courtesy and respect, rules and regulations, right and wrong ways of doing things, and so-called rugged individualism giving way to discipline and teamwork. Those are the things that spell out military life.
It's fascinating, that disclaimer at the end. It's like, Coronet, we claim responsibility for this content. No other organization is associated. This is our take on it. So at some point I hope to find out, like, what was the impetus behind this? Coronet was pretty savvy in kind of reading what was happening in the educational realm when they were making educational films. And it's interesting that this series exists, and their competitors, Encyclopedia Britannica, or Centron, did not make a series like this. Like, there must have been some reason that they were like, well, we're going to do this. And I feel like they made 5 or 6 films, of which I probably have 4 or so. And I'm hoping in the course of us digitizing a bunch of the Coronet collection that we run across some of the original materials for it and some of the color materials, because I think that would be exciting. All right, so let's learn about the GI Bill, courtesy of the Army Magazine. Now, this was a series of films that were distributed on 16mm and were shown to soldiers when they were serving across everywhere. And so this is an example of the efficient way that information was distributed, and 16 millimeter projectors were a big part of that because they were portable. You could set up anywhere. You could run a generator and run one. So here's a film about the GI Bill, the promises that the government is making to veterans when they muster out. Enjoy.
Back in 1918, these were pretty exciting pictures. The fighting men of America coming home from France. Down Fifth Avenue they marched with their brass shining and grins a mile wide. The crowds cheered and waved flags, and the doughboys home from Chateau Thierry and Belleau Wood planned on picking up their lives just where they'd left them. Only for a lot of them, it didn't work out that way. Not exactly. Some of these marching men wanted to go back to school, but discovered they didn't have the money. Others learned the jobs they'd left behind were gone, or if they were there, they didn't want them. They wanted something better. But for these returning soldiers, no legislation had been passed, nor any program mapped out to give them the break they deserved. They got medals, but 15 years later, some of these men were selling apples on street corners. Others were known contemptuously as bonus marchers.
What about this time, Mac? Are these Navy boys going to get the same sort of deal? What about this man who's fought the long, tough fight up Italy and has been knocked out? What's going to happen to him? Is it going to be the same for these GIs hitting the beach at Saipan? Or the Siegfried Line, or the Gothic Line, or any line that's needed hitting? When it's all over, is it going to be like last time for them?
No, this time it's going to be different.
Yeah? What makes you so sure?
Because in Washington, there were a group of congressmen with long memories who were in the last war. They knew that when a man gets out of the Army or Navy or Marines, he's worried most about a job, an education, and a home. And that's why Congress, led by the President, passed the law, the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, better known as the GI Bill of Rights. And to make sure it works, a Veterans Administration is already busy in Washington with General Frank Hines in charge.
Sounds all right. Sounds great, in fact. But I'm from Missouri. You got to show me, brother.
Happy to. Let's take a typical example. We'll call this corporal who saw action in Italy, Vic Jones. Here he's signing his name to one of the most important documents of his career, his honorable discharge. After that, he bucks his last GI line to get his mustering out pay.
Everybody get the same pay?
No. The amount depends on the length of a man's service. $100 for the man who's only worn a uniform 2 months. $200 for the GIs who served here in the States more than 60 days. And $300 for the soldier who's been overseas, like Jones. He gets $100 now, another $100 in a month, and the last $100 in 2 months. Pretty nice, huh? After all, $100 is a lot of bucks.
I'm not complaining, so far. But changing over from a GI to a civilian costs money. By the time a guy has bought himself a new outfit and looked around, trying to remember his saluting days are over, most of his dough is pretty well shot. What happens then?
That's where the GI Bill of Rights comes in. Jones, by law, like every discharged soldier, must report back to his draft board. There, if he wants his old job back, he finds out if he's eligible and how to go about it.
But suppose his ex-boss doesn't want to give him back his old job.
If necessary, the local draft board will get the United States Attorney to go to bat for the corporal at no cost. And his ex-boss will have to rehire him for at least a year. If not at his old job, then one with equivalent seniority, status, and pay.
Not bad, not bad. But what about the guy who was unemployed before he entered the Army? And what about a guy like Jones here who wants a better job than when he went in?
The United States Employment Service has 1,500 offices throughout the country with a special Veterans Employment Representative to assist ex-soldiers in finding the right job.
But what if the right job doesn't turn up so fast, and he's unemployed for a while?
Then, like Tabor here, who's eligible, he receives unemployment insurance. $20 a week up to a maximum of 1 year, depending on his length of service. Or take the case of a man like Albert Falk, who goes into his own business after he's discharged. If things are a little slow in getting started, and he's earning less than $100 a month, then through the GI Bill of Rights, he receives a check each month, making up the difference.
You said something about an education. What about a man like Sergeant Brown here who's just been let out? Before the Army got him, he was going to school. Now he'd like to go back.
Veterans Administration offices have been set up in every state, and it's here the ex-soldier goes if he wants to continue his education under the GI Bill of Rights. All he has to do when interviewed is prove that he was not over 25 when he entered the service, or show that his education was interrupted.
You mean he can get any kind of education he wants?
Now you're getting the idea. Any kind of education, and in any part of the country. High school, trade school, college, university. The ex-sergeant, after consulting the Veterans Administration, decides he wants to go to New York University. And here he calls on the registrar, who also serves as a veterans advisor. Brown tells the registrar what he'd like to do, the courses he'd like to study. Then,
Don't tell me I know. The GI Bill of Rights looks after the money end, too.
that's right. Tuition is taken care of, funds are provided for laboratory fees, books, supplies, and equipment are included. Through the GI Bill of Rights, the government pays Sergeant Brown's school up to $500 a year, while Brown gets $50 a month for subsistence. If he were married, he gets $75,
For how long?
depending on the length of service. A veteran can go to school from 1 to 4 years. And if the ex-soldier's already completed college and wants to take a postgraduate course, such as law, there's nothing to stop him. Oh yes, one more point. Every soldier or sailor should remember that refresher and retraining courses are open to everyone regardless of age. If a man wants to, he can brush up on his training or plan to take new courses. Nice house, isn't it?
Sure, it's nice. And if I'm lucky after I get out, in 5 or 10 years, I'll have one pretty much like it.
Well, George Tobin, just driving in, didn't have to wait any 5 or 10 years. As soon as he got out of the Navy, he applied to the Director of Finance, Veterans Administration in Washington. And they were able to help him get a loan by guaranteeing it up to $2,000. Of course, George, like every veteran, had to meet certain conditions, prove he was a reliable citizen. But he was able to do that all right.
Well, I guess I was all wrong about it being like last time. But wait a second. What about the beautiful blonde? Don't tell me the GI Bill of Rights guarantees every returning serviceman one of those, too.
No, that's still up to the veteran. Just as it's up to him to take advantage of the GI Bill of Rights and not expect the government to come after him. The GI Bill of Rights is not a reward or a handout or a gravy train, but rather an American way to make it easier for each man to take his place once again in the community and get some of those things for which he went to war. A job, a business, an education, a home.
Yeah, like, it just reeks of socialism. Reeks of it. Like, how dare we invest in this vast amount of people who serve for the country and serve to protect our democracy? How dare we invest in that by giving them an education and helping them acquire a home, all that stuff. That's horrible. What a horrible thing that is. And I think we're experiencing dividends from that horrible thing that happened. There was a lot of housing that was built because of that. There was a lot of people that were able to transition and get educated in trades and skills. The educational film industry was all filled and grew because of veterans who served in the Army Signal Corps. They were camera people, and they got out of school, got out of the military, and they were like, wow, we educational films, 16 millimeter films are a very efficient way to get information out into the world, and we should build a company that does that for schools and make money off of that. Likewise, there was a surplus of audiovisual equipment that the military had, and they gave them to schools, much to the complaints of Bell and Howell and Ampro and all these other entities that were like, no, wait, you're cutting into our business. And it's like, well, guess what? You made a bunch of money with these military contracts, but it helped grow what we do at AV Geeks, basically, was because of these post-war things that happened. All right. This next film, it's long, but it's fascinating. It's called Easy Out, and it essentially is a cautionary tale for people in the military who are looking to get a dishonorable discharge to get out. Rugged individualists who are like, I want out of this chicken outfit, like, what can I do? And so this basically it shows a person who did that and then all the horrible things that happened to them. It's really kind of interesting. Now, unfortunately, sometimes people got dishonorable discharges because of things that were kind of beyond their control, as far as mental issues, substance abuse issues, other things that led to them getting kicked out, and then their life was also very miserable. So here's Easy Out.
Judy, go see who's at the door. Okay, Mommy. Hi.
This is FP Alton Live here.
Uh-huh.
Telegram.
Oh, Mommy, telegram.
She got a sign for it.
Dear, these things scare me so. Where's it from?
I don't know, lady. Just sign here.
Oh, thank heavens. He's all right, Judy. He's all right, and he's coming home.
Let me see, Mommy. When?
Oh, I feel weak.
Sign here, please.
Oh, yes.
Arriving tonight on 6 o'clock. Discharged yesterday. Tell Mary, love, Paul.
I haven't heard from my boy in so long, and since he went into the service, I've been frightened to death of telegrams.
Yeah, thanks.
Paul's gonna stay home for good now, Mommy?
Yes, for good, Judy, thank God.
And can we have a party and go down the train and everything?
And everything. Oh, look, it's late. You run down to Burnett's and tell Mary. Tell her we'll expect her here for dinner. I'll call Dad.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, my brother's coming home.
Oh, Judy, stop at Veterans and get some chicken. I'll call him and tell him what I want. I'll get
Okay.
Uncle Dick and Aunt Matha, too. Oh, Judy, tell Mr. Coleman to save me 2 quarts of ice cream.
Oh, Mommy, I want to go.
Oh, all right, go ahead. Hello? Fred Elton, please. Fred? What do you think? Paul? He'll be here tonight. Yes. He's being discharged, and he's coming home. Why, it isn't even in sight yet.
I kept telling you, Mother, we have plenty of time.
Is the train gonna be late, Daddy?
You do just about now, dear.
Well, I hope we haven't forgotten anything. Mary, you were a dear to help out.
Glad I could.
Never could have done it without you, and you being so calm and all.
Of course, she isn't much excited about his coming home. How soon you gonna have a wedding in the family now, Mary?
Oh, Jeff, please stop.
What day's the train late, Dad?
Don't know that it is, dear. Let's go in and check and see if it's on schedule.
Okay.
Well, I hope he isn't late. Dinner's all ready.
Reminds me, Mary, of when your dad and me came home from France in 1918. Did we have a time?
So I've heard.
Not about this, you haven't.
Now, Dick, don't start making up things about Mary's dad. Is he coming down to the station, Mary?
No, he has a Legion meeting, but he said for Paul to come on over after.
Daddy! He's coming! The train's coming!
You look thin, Paul. Are you all right?
Well, sure, Mom.
How about your bag, son?
That's all I've got with me. Well, how does it feel to be out, huh? Great. What do you think?
But why haven't you written? You've been so worried.
Paul, where's your uniform? Why aren't you wearing it?
Why, yes, where is it?
Well, I thought I'd like to wear civvies for a change, that's all.
It's certainly a lot we have to catch up on. Oh, my, yes.
Oh, Paul, we're gonna have a party. Chicken and ice cream and all our favorites. No, sorry, we just have one.
Oh, she said that Mother really had a good dinner today, didn't she? Mother does a beautiful job.
I love the would you? I mean, it's the best thing. No, I don't. Do you have a nice
Well, here's to here's to the returned warrior and the timely custom that only the brave deserve the fair.
We'll all drink to that.
Paul, why don't you finish up that last piece of chicken? Do you good. Put on a little weight.
Here you go.
No, really I couldn't. I'm stuffed.
Why, you've hardly eaten anything.
The matter, don't they teach you to eat in the service anymore? That's something we really learned.
I'll bet you ate plenty of good service food, eh, son?
No. The cooks ruin it. Besides, they don't give you time enough to eat. Work, drill, scrub.
Oh, poor Paul.
Funny, I thought we fed our servicemen pretty well these days.
They watch over you every minute. Rules, regulations. You never get a chance to do what you want to do.
But, Paul, we all have to live by rules. We've got rules down at the shop, but we get along all right.
Don't bother the poor boy tonight, Fred.
Oh, Paul, I saw Mr. Sutton on the street this afternoon when he went down to tell Mary, and he says that anytime you wanted a job to come down and see him.
What doing, did he say?
I said, Paul's going to college, Mr. Sutton, on his GI Bill. Paul and Mary worked it all out before he went away.
Maybe I will go down and see him.
I said maybe he's even going to be a lawyer.
You mean not go to school, son?
You know, I might get a better deal at the factory. More money, you know.
Not more than a lawyer, Paul.
Certainly wish I'd had a chance to go to college.
With the government paying your way, Paul, you wouldn't pass that up.
I don't know. Maybe. School's a lot of work.
But I thought we...
I know, but I changed my mind. Can a guy change his mind once in a while?
Young lady, it's way past your bedtime. Up you go.
Oh, please, Mama. Just this once. I want to see Paul.
You can see Paul all you like tomorrow.
Gee, it is late. Maybe we should start, Paul. Dad's waiting up to say hello.
Okay.
Say good night, and up you go.
Good night.
Night, night.
Good night, dearie.
I'm so glad you're home, Paul.
So am I, kiddo.
And will you come and tell the kids at school about where you've been and all, just like the other kids' brothers do?
Well, sure, kiddo. We'll try and fix it up.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, Judy.
Good night, dear.
Dinner was delicious. Thanks so much. Well, thank yourself, Mary. I'd never have done it without you.
Certainly was good.
Here are the keys, son.
Okay.
Good night. Good night, dear.
Good night.
Good night, and
Paul.
remember, you two, I expect you to take her straight home.
Wait a minute. Don't go in yet.
But Dad's waiting. I can see the light.
Let him wait another couple of minutes. I've been waiting a lot longer than that.
Why didn't you write, darling? We've been so worried.
I told you, I was busy. They didn't give us time.
You always found time before.
Well, I had different duty. You know things change.
Yes, I do know. People change, too.
Meaning what?
Paul, you're different. You've changed somehow.
How?
Well, I don't know. Nothing. I'm just tired, I guess. Let's go in. Dad wants to talk to you about joining the Legion. He's district commander now, you know, and he takes it all so seriously.
Yeah. Big wheel.
He's trying to get everyone coming out of the service now to join up. You'll make a big hit if you say yes.
I can imagine.
Come on, Paul.
Hey, wait a minute. You know, before we go in, maybe there's something you should know. Something your old man might not go for.
What?
You see, I got out before my hitch was up. Didn't you notice?
No, what do you mean?
Well, on the books, I still got nearly 4 months to go.
Well, how did you manage to do that?
Simple, if you know your way around. Ever hear of a BCD?
No, what is it?
It's an easy out if you and the military don't mix. That fits me exactly.
What do you mean, Paul? What did you do?
I haven't done anything. Don't give me that tone. I just got fed up and wanted out. This military stuff's for the birds. I overstay leave a little and they give me a rough time. I just didn't like it. I found out if you foul up often enough, even on little things, they toss you out. That's what I did.
You mean you got into trouble on purpose?
Just little things, nothing much.
And why won't Dad like it?
You know, these outfits like the Legion, they're pretty sticky. You gotta have a white ticket.
What's a white ticket?
Honorable discharge.
And what have you got?
I told you. BCD.
What does that mean?
Bad conduct discharge.
Paul. Do your mother and father know about this?
No. They wouldn't understand. It'd bother them.
Is this why you didn't write?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it is. You see, I had to do some time. I didn't want them to find out about it.
I see.
for gosh sake, say something. You act like I've committed a crime or something. It's because I'm smarter than these other suckers.
What did you say?
Who heard me?
2 of those suckers happen to be my brothers.
Oh, I didn't mean them.
They get along all right in the service.
Well, so what? I don't like it.
Stop yelling at me.
I'll yell all I like.
Not at me, you won't. Let me go.
Look, Mary, just because I wanted to get out of the service before my time was
Why
up.
should you? Everybody else serves this time.
Well, I smartened up.
You sure did. Too smart for me.
Yes?
Mr. Sutton, there's a Mr. Elton to see you.
Paul Elton?
Yes, that's right.
Well, send him in.
Come right in, Mr. Elton.
Well, Paul, welcome home. Awfully glad to see you.
Well, it's good to be back.
I ran into Judy yesterday, and she told me the good news. She sure is proud of her brother.
Yeah, she mentioned seeing you. Said something about a job.
That's right. Here, sit down, Paul. Sit down.
Thanks.
I thought you said something about your going to college.
Well, I've been thinking about it, but there's no hurry. I thought I'd look around first.
Sure. Well, we've got some openings, some pretty good ones, too. We can go over all that. For a starter, fill out this form here.
Okay.
Now, what I would suggest is that we try to arrange on-the-job training for you.
Well, what's that?
Oh, didn't you know? Since you're a veteran, the government will pay part of your salary while you learn a new job.
Oh, yeah, they did say something about that.
You get better training that way, and you take home more money, which I guess is okay with you, huh?
Yeah, sure.
We do that with all the returning vets now.
Well, how does it work?
You just go down to the post office with your discharge papers. There's a VA representative there once a week. Today's his day. I suggest you go down there right away.
Okay. I'll do it. Post office, you said?
That's right. Then come on back here and we'll be all set, huh?
Okay. So, Mr. Sutton thought I should come down and see you first.
Good. That's what we're here for. Got your papers with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute. I guess I didn't understand, Elton.
What do you mean?
You've got a bad conduct discharge here, given by a general court. How do you expect to get GI benefits?
Not even this, on-the-job training thing?
Afraid not. As I understand it, you don't get anything, state or federal.
Well, I knew I couldn't go to school.
No. No on-the-job training, no bonuses or educational benefits, no home or business loans. Nothing.
I see.
The services give a man a pretty fair trial, we find. They don't pass these things out without good reason.
Well, what about getting this thing changed in 6 months? I heard something about writing to Washington.
Well, you can write to Washington, but getting it changed is another matter. These things are never changed without good cause. You think you got a fair shake?
Well,
You got a fair trial, didn't you?
Yeah,
Counsel to represent you? See that all your legal rights were considered? That there was no prejudice?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, then. And I doubt, Elton, that under the circumstances, Sutton will want to take you into his factory here.
Why not?
Well, this is outside my bailiwick, you understand. But let me ask you, would you take on a man with a BCD?
I don't know. It depends.
That's it. It depends on a good deal. A BCD is a danger flag. It suggests a man's unreliable or irresponsible. That's the problem you have to face. Once you get one of these things, it stays with you.
Well, I guess I'll live through it. Some guys aren't so particular.
I hope you'll find it that way. Send in your papers if you like. We'll do what we can, though I doubt it'll help much.
No, skip it. I'll get by okay.
I hope so, Elton. Good luck anyway.
Thanks.
Paul, you old son of a gun.
Oh, Charlie, how's it going?
Great, I'm great. I heard you were back. When'd you get in?
Just yesterday.
Oh, and first thing, you hot put it down to the VA with your hand out. Boy, you haven't changed a bit.
I don't know. How about yourself?
I finished up school on the GI Bill, and now I'm buying a farm.
No kidding?
Yeah, the Winkler place. I just came in to fix up the loan, and you'll have to come out and see us sometime.
Well, I'd like to, but I'm going to be sort of busy, so I don't...
Oh, that's right. You're going into the factory, I hear.
Who told you that?
Sutton. I just ran into him. News travels fast around here, boy.
Sure does. I'll try and get out.
Okay, do that, and remember me to your folks.
Yeah, sure. So long.
Well, here's to the returned warrior.
Just like the other kids' brothers do?
Do you mean, Paul? What did you do?
I ran into Judy yesterday, and she told me the good news. She sure is proud of her brother.
Does your mother and father know about this?
Would you take on a man with a BCD?
I get along all right in the service.
News travels fast around here, boy.
You mean you got into trouble on purpose?
You got a fair trial, didn't you?
Everybody else serves his time.
Boy, you haven't changed a bit.
Well, you're different. You've changed somehow.
Poor Paul.
Oh.
A BCD is a danger flag. Once you get one of these things, it stays with you.
Wow, they laid on pretty thick, and that was 54 when that came out, which meant that this was post World War II, and so this is Korean folks who were potentially drafted and then had to, so this is a way to kind of close that gap, make people ashamed and realize what they're losing if they get an easy out. And what's unfortunate is in the real life situation, I'll reiterate, the reason that they might have gotten a dishonorable discharge might have been because they needed help. Because of PTSD, because of emotional issues, other things that made it difficult for them. And so when they came out of the military, it was a rough road for them. Especially rough. Like, all those things have been disconnected. And so, yeah. Anyways, Ellen Burstyn. I'm looking at the comments. Someone said that Ellen Burstyn was in that. Yeah. We'll have to look that up. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in today. I know the message today was a little heavy, but it's Veterans Day, and so it's time to kind of reflect on the sacrifices that veterans have made for us. And not just people who lost their lives serving in the military, but people who are still around, like how you can support them. And I really think that a guide, a way you can support them beyond, emotional and support, is to actually see who you're voting for and make sure that they recognize the importance of veterans and what they've done and what they've contributed, etc. And that there are some scoundrels who do not respect veterans and are eager to send them to war, but not eager to help them on the other end of it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to soapbox a little bit, but just, thank a veteran by voting to support them. And that's that. Anyways, love you guys. I'm going to be out of town all next week because I'm going to a film conference. EMEA is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm going there and I'm presenting on different things and doing different things. So it'll be a lot of pre-recorded stuff, but maybe we'll try to get some other archivists on there like we did last year. But I'll see you. We'll still do shows and I'll still show you stuff, etc., etc. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see you soon. Hit the thumbs up, the like button. And if you like what we do, watch more AV Geeks videos on the YouTube channel. Enjoy.